Take the attendance for today also.
Okay, ma'am.
So do that, and all of you, as you have done yesterday, give your name as well as your enrollment number in the chat box. Okay, today I think I have given you a problem yesterday and hope you can solve that problem. Probability. We have finished with probability. I was discussing with you conditional probability and all. Since we have very limited time, so I will continue with the discussion. I will take up block 2. So I just open this. Can you see the PowerPoint? Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, in block 2, we come to the most important part, that is the statistical inference. Okay. So, as I told you yesterday, also I told you about this statistical inference when I was discussing. I told you that statistics have different parts. That is, we need to collect the data, we need to analyze the data, and we need to infer from the data. So we have to draw inference, or we have to draw conclusion from the data. So while doing this, what type of data you have to choose? So you have learned about the type of data which are collected, the various types: numerical, categorical, ordinal. So all these types of data, and from where they will be collected. That is another very important thing. Like whether you are collecting the data from a population or you are collecting the data from a sample. Okay. Now, when you are collecting it from a sample, obviously sample belongs to a population. So that is another thing. So collection of data is equally important in statistics. So here you will find population is of different type: finite, infinite, heterogeneous, homogeneous. Finite population, you can very well understand that which can be counted. Okay, infinite means which we can't count, and we don't have a fixed count of that particular population. And heterogeneous means obviously it is mixed, and homogeneous means it's the same type of population. Heterogeneous, if you consider the population of India, and we take everything, livestock as well as the wildlife, everything, and we go on counting. So that becomes a heterogeneous population. So working with analysis of data in a heterogeneous population is very difficult. So we need to group the data, and we need to group it into particular categories. So categorical data is important in those cases. Now, sample is obviously, I explained yesterday what is a sample, and this is a statistical definition of a sample. Like you were saying that it is an unbiased number of observation taken from a population. So, and on what basis you are going to select the sample, that is another, that method is known as sampling. SAMPLING, sampling. Sampling means on what method are you going to sample. I can say that every fourth item I'm going to choose. Suppose there are 10 items. Okay, I just share this word, this thing. It will be easier for you to understand. If I want to choose, say, every fourth item or every five item in this, I can choose like that. Okay, suppose let's start this way. I explain to you what I mean. Suppose I say there are numbers like this. in this way. So I don't choose all the numbers. So what I choose is every second number I choose. So I choose 1. So every second means this, this. So I choose 3 again. Okay. So then after 3, 4, 1, 2. So I choose 5. So when I am choosing every second number, then what happens? 1 comes out, 3 comes out, 5 comes out, 7 comes out, in this way. Okay, that means basically I'm choosing the odd numbers. If because it's a numerical data, you can say it, and it is arranged in um, sequence, so the odd numbers are, so every second number I am choosing. Now I can do it for every third number, every fourth number, every fifth number. I can go on. Now this is a linear one. This is what I have written, it's a linear one. But if you consider this as a circle, then what happens? I'm trying to give an idea, a picture. Suppose this is a circle over here, okay? And you imagine these numbers are all arranged in the circle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is arranged in the circle, right? Now, when they're arranged in a circle, then when you are choosing, say 1 is over here, 2 is over here, 3 is here, 4 is here. So what happened? 1, you have chosen 1, then comes what? See, so it comes about in a round way fashion, isn't it? At a point you will find 2 will also be selected. You got my point, what I am saying? Every second number I am choosing from the circle, right? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 numbers are here. So 1, then 3, then comes this, then comes this number. Okay, after C I have already chosen 1, so I'm not going to choose this, but what is next to this one? This number 2, so I'm choosing this one. So this is like a uh, circle. You can consider this is another method of choosing the sample. Okay, now obviously there won't be population won't be on 10 or 20, it will be a huge population. So while we do this sampling, we have to see whether we are doing a linear sampling or we are doing it in a cyclical mode. There is another known as stratified sampling, like 1 3 5 7, say 9 is written over here, and 11 is over here, 13 is over here, in this way. So we choose one from here. Maybe we are choosing diagonally, we are choosing 5 from here. Again, diagonally, we are choosing 7 from here. So that some type of sampling is also there. So these are different types in which a sample is created. Actually, you are choosing here, you are actually not choosing the sample. Actually, what you are doing is you are choosing the items. Okay, whether it's a population or whether it can be anything, it can be numbers, it can be anything, any item means anything. I mean, item by item I can say anything, you can choose. You got it? Did you have you understood, all of you? Is this portion clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, next we come to this. So that is what we mean by this sample and how we are doing. So it can be any subject, it can be anything from where you can choose this sample. Actually, what you are doing is you are choosing some items and then you are saying that this is a sample. Okay, that is what you are doing. Whole thing is constitute a sample. Now, these are the symbols, whenever we say mu, that is understood population mean, and sample mean is usually denoted by X bar. So these are the basic symbols which you have to know. Sampling distributions, basically it's a graph. So where it shows how that in every possible sample from a population, how often each result, whenever you are choosing, how often they are appearing. Like I showed you in cyclic sampling, It can be that it is being repeated, as I showed you, because it's a cycle, it's in a circle, so one is being repeated, but I am not going to take one again. I will take the number which is next to one. So what I am doing is I am taking two. But in a linear sampling, you see, I have skipped two. Skipped two is already skipped. So basically, it's a graph. So sampling distribution looks somewhat like this. So from this population, actually, this is the population number n, and you can say this is mean and this is the standard deviation. From here, you have chosen this sample. Okay. Now these are basically the sample mean they are talking about. So they are. Okay, you have chosen one sample, you have cluster of a sample from here, 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 and you have plotted the mean over here. And after that, you have drawn a graph. And this is your mu. Okay, so this is how you understood the meaning of this figure. This is basically from here you are choosing a group of item, from here you are choosing a group of item, from here you are choosing a group of item. Okay, and then you are finding the mean out of this. And each sample, the size of the sample, number of items or whatever is n. So you can keep it same, you can, it can be different. Mean of the sample mean, then we will be doing some of the, when I go over, we will be doing ANOVA and other things where mean of the sample means will be considered. That is known as a grand mean. So that is important. So mean of the sample mean means what? Like if I tell you what is the mean of the sample mean over here. So this is one mean. That is, say there are a group of 10 items over here. There are a group of 20 items over here. There are a group of 30 items over here. So you have uh, this is from the northern part, this is from the eastern part, this is from the, say, from the southwestern part. So this is how we have chosen the sample from this particular population. And so we have found out the mean. This is 10, this is 20, and they say this is 30. Okay, so the 10, we found the mean of this particular sample, we found the mean of this particular sample, we found the mean of this particular sample. Fine. And after that, what happens is we find the mean of these three means. Understood? We find the mean of these three means. And that is done as a grand mean over here. K is the number of observations. So total number of observation is now what? This is 10, this is 20, this is 30. Now it has become 60. So the mean of the this will be total number of observations. Observations mean total number of samples which are present. So this is what is done as grand mean. Mean of the is proportional. Now this you should know that mean of the sampling distribution of proportions is equal to the population proportion, obviously, because you are getting it from the same population. And next we have the standard deviation, and how the standard deviation is being calculated. So this formula, you are already familiar with this formula. I have already shown you the formula of standard deviation, and it is given in your study mat also, the formula for standard deviation. So this is how this is it is calculated. So and this one, this is a very important line. Note that the grand mean, this is the grand mean, x double bar, is the mean of the sampling distribution, right? That is the grand mean that you have calculated. It is same as the population mean. Can you tell me why? Of course, it has to be same. It has to be same for the population mean. Okay. So that is an important observation from this. Now, satisfy. Now suppose random samples. Now this you have to remember, if random samples of size n are drawn from a population with mean mu and standard deviation this sigma, the mean of this and standard deviation of the sample, that is this will be of the sample mean, will satisfy this one. That means if you are drawing it from the same population, then the mean will be equal. That is what they are trying to tell you. The mean will be similar. Okay? If you are drawing random samples, that is what they have done over here. That is what they have done over here. They are drawing it randomly from this population. So, and they are stating that this is equal to the population mean, this whole population mean. Okay, so here it will be equal. And what about the standard deviation? Standard deviation is this one. This is the formula for standard deviation. Based on this, many problems you can do. And if you have seen the term and papers, they have based on these two formulas. You will find many problems. Calculate the standard deviation of the populations, calculate the standard deviation of the sample. So you can, if you know one standard deviation and if you know the number of samples and everything, so if you know n and if you know this one, then you can calculate this sigma. If you know this and this, you can calculate this. And always remember, this should be equal. So I think yesterday I was giving you an example of apple, crate of apples. This is a very common example, and this type of problems, it come in your term end exam as well as I have seen it in your assignments. Okay, previous assignments, if you see, usually assignments are loaded in the previous assignments and loaded in your IGNU site. So if you see, great. You have to they are saying that maybe there is a crate of 100 apples and 50 random apples are drawn from that crate. Now you have to calculate the standard deviation of this sample and the standard deviation of the population, that is of 100 apples, that is given to you. So you know, if you know one and if you know this two, you can calculate this one, or if you know this two, you can calculate this one. So these formulas are very important. This you need to remember. Any question?
Ma'am, questions will be more or like same every year
Yes.
about
Questions.
standard deviation and mean mode.
Yes, yes. It will be more or less like this. That is what I told you. A question will be like they will ask you, like, what is the standard deviation of that? Like I told you just now, the example I've given you. A crate of 100 apples are there. Okay? And the standard deviation is given to you. This is the standard deviation of this particular population of these apples. And you have drawn, say, 50 random apples from this crate. Clear? Now, that means you have made a sample out of this 50, right? Now the question is, what is the standard deviation of this new sample? Clear? So now you have to find, now you know the population mean, population standard deviation, and you know the number, the sample size also. It's not difficult for you to find out the sample standard deviation. Clear? So this type of question will come. It's not that they will tell you they will tell you point blank that you calculate standard deviation is, I am giving you this numbers and you calculate this. No, not like this. So these are the practical examples where you will be having this. And there is another problem over here. They ask you whether this 50 random samples of these apples which you have drawn from this crate of 100 apples, whether these apples belong to the same crate or not. Okay, so in that case, you have to prove actually this is equal. This means are equal. There is a process, that is the t distribution. You can also calculate the t distribution and prove it like that. And if these means are equal, that means what? They are same. So you, in that case, you have to calculate the mean of the sample as well as the population. So if the mean is equal, what this is a very important statement. That's why I said. So when you are drawing sample from this portion, that means this population mean will be equal to this grand mean. So if you know this grand mean somehow, then you will know, say that yes, these are drawn from this population. Okay, you got my point. I think someone logged in. Who logged in? Let me check. Wait. Anyone else waiting? No. Okay. So that is what I was trying to tell you. So the basic of it, if you know, it won't be difficult for you to solve it. Okay. Now, maybe I won't be doing all the problems. It is not possible to do all each and every problem, but I will explain you the main points. So accordingly, you have to do the problem. If you remember this basic concept, solving the problems are not difficult. Okay, there are lots of worked out examples in your study mat. So you can just go through your study mat and you can practice those examples, and similar problems are given in your term and exam. So if you understand this portion over here, then it won't be difficult for you to solve those problems. Okay, they are not at all tough. Any question? Do you have any other question to ask?
No, ma'am.
No question. Okay. So here you have another problem over here. See how were the mean and standard deviation of the. So you can see this problem given over here, that the mean and standard deviation of the tax value of all vehicles registered in a certain state are this, and instead of apples they have given you about vehicles. That is the only difference. Okay, so the same thing. So you have to calculate the mean as well as the standard deviation of the sample. So this problem, it's worked out over here, and you can very well guess, because this the same thing is given here only. So as I told you, this mean and this mean should be equal, isn't it? This mean and this mean always should be equal. So you know, if you have this population mean, you also know the sample mean. So that is what they have done over here also. So this and this type of problems also is there, like if your sample size of 50 drawn from a population with mean this, so find the mean and standard deviation. You know, find the probability that x bar will assume a value between this and this, and find the probability that assumes a value greater than what is x bar, that is the sample mean that is talking about. So uh, greater than 113. So this is also, it has a worked out example over here. So since you are getting this video, I think you can access the video, isn't it? So you can very well check how they're actually working out this problem. So here actually they are finding out, the question is number one part, that is easy, you can do it. But you will say that what is the answer for this, how do we do this portion where the sample mean should lie between 110 and 114. For that you need to apply this central, actually we central limit theorem is there. I haven't done that with you. So that is how we write, because this probability is between this and this. So when you are writing this probability, we write it in terms of, in this fashion. Just know that we are writing it in this particular fashion, that it should lie between, the sample mean should be greater than 110 and should be less than 114. Now if it is greater than 110, then we are applying that formula which you have just now did, and we are writing this over here. It should be 110 minus this, and 114 minus this one. This, what is this? Mu x. Mu x, you can consider it as a sample mean or population mean, whatever it is, population mean, right? And next is what? Now, how do we get the, what is this? We know the value of mu x is this one, 112, and the value of the, next we put this probabilities over here. Now the thing is, how do we calculate this one? There is a chart which will tell you p of 0.35 minus 0.35 and plus 0.35. There is a chart from where we can get this value of this usually in your exam, this value is usually mentioned to you, or you will have a chart from where you have to get the value of this. Okay, this is actually the Z score. I told you about Z score yesterday, I think. So that is how you find out this value, and then you, this is plain subtraction. Similarly, this problem is also done over here using this Z score. So this is how we formulate all this. Is it clear, or you have any question?
No, it's
Any
clear.
question? Okay, so this type of problems again you will be having that between this and this, or the value greater than 113. I think in your assignment you had it already, I don't know. So this is another problem, similar problem, and I hope you can solve this, can't you? Instead of 110 and this 114, they have given you a value between 2.51 and 2.71. Okay, so since you now you know how to solve that problems, exactly in the same way you have to solve this one. Okay, now standard error, that is another important measure in statistics. That is, it is the standard deviation of a statistical sample population. Now, how this standard error, how it is, what it is basically. And basically it is the variation. Now sometimes, as you say the sample mean and the population mean, we know that it will be
Ma'am, somebody is trying
trying
to
to call
join.
me. Okay.
Sorry, ma'am.
Yes, no, I have to actually. What happens is if I close this string, it, okay. Now, standard error means there can be a error in the deviation of sample and population mean. So that is what is, we usually say that these are equal, isn't it? That is what we theoretically it is equal. It should be equal, but practically it may not be. So that is actually what is meant by this standard error. So that is the basically what you mean by standard error. And standard error is expressed like this formula. So you can, that is the standard deviation of the population, and this, that is how you calculate standard error. Don't confuse it with the earlier equation. So this is how you actually calculate this. And since the population is seldom known, the standard error of mean is usually estimated as the standard deviation divided by this. This is how we find out if there is at all error in that between the population and the sample mean, if they are not equal. Usually the standard error is not a huge, it doesn't indicate there is a huge error. Small error it can be, plus minus 0 point something, it's always there. Okay. And for a finite population, this is how you calculate, where you know the number of the population, this is how you actually calculate standard error. The previous equation is actually they so here this one actually you have uh, this is the equation which we usually follow to find out if we don't know the population this thing, or we don't know this, we follow this equation. And for calculating standard error, actually you can apply this, but we usually follow this one over here. This one, this is the formula that we usually follow. Okay, so you see, finite population, obviously, if you don't know the size of the population, you won't be able to get that. No one can. In finite population, you can't find out standard error. So, for a finite population, this is how you do it. Obviously, you can very well guess what are all these symbols, and this is how you find out if there is at all some error in the mean. Okay, next we come to the central limit theorem, which is related to the sampling distribution of sample mean, and it approaches a normal distribution. And I told you what is a normal distribution yesterday, you already know. Uh, so, all this normal distribution, it always, all the sampling distribution will always have a tendency to approach normal distribution. And I told you normal distribution is the bell-shaped curve, and everyone will try to have that bell-shaped curve, which is not actually possible practically, but we try to approach that. That is basically a benchmark sort of thing. So this is central limit theorem. This is all that it states that sampling distribution will try to approach the normal distribution. Okay, as the sample size gets larger, no matter what the shape of the population distribution is. So, whether the population distribution is less or more, as the sample size, as you go on increasing the sample size, it will try to approach that normal distribution. That is the central limit theorem. That is the main statement of the central limit theorem. Now we come to a very important part, that is the analysis part, that is the t distribution. Okay. Now t distribution, what does it check? And it is basically, it is checking whether the sample is from that particular population or not. That means if we tell you, we know that sample mean always will be equal to the population mean, provided the sample has been taken from that particular population. Clear? But if the sample is not taken from that particular population, how far you want it to match, it is not going to match. So that is another thing. Is it clear? So any question, whatever you have done till now? Any question? Can't hear from any of you.
No, ma'am.
No question. So you can understand everything that I am telling you, isn't it? I guess that is it. Pritam, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. What about others? Who all are there? Let me see. Motuli, and others are Kavita, she.
Ma'am,
Moutuli, yes.
Yes,
I am
ma'am.
Saranjit, ma'am. Can you hear me? Actually, ma'am, I'm too late. That's why I'm not answering right now. Yes, ma'am. Actually, ma'am, that what in your previous calls also I am not joined actually. So that's why I'm pretty confused about all this matter. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, actually, ma'am, actually, I message just right now, okay, and my enrollment number is actually silly mistake is there. So again, I'm typing and just correct that in enrollment number, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Okay. Okay, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you. No, ma'am, I just joined after half an hour. I was trying to join, but no one was accepting the call. That's why. Okay, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Not everything, ma'am, but little bit.
Um, no, I'm Kavita Shi, ma'am. I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to understand, ma'am. Uh, uh, sorry. What's the formula and on? Hmm. Hmm. I have to go through with the study material, man. I have to go through with the study, man, and then I can understand. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Ma'am, I think the time is very much less. that you have to also cover the whole course, and that's all. So
I have
it
to,
is
that
very much big problem, ma'am, for us. It's
yes.
a very much big problem for us.
Yes. And for this, when you have the time less, it is always better if you go through the syllabus one at least, because
Hmm.
all of you have done the assignment. So at that time, you
Hmm.
have opened the books and where they are present, you have found them out, isn't it? Time all these are not, I won't say these are absolutely new to you. These terms are familiar with you. Maybe you are not clear with these terms,
Huh.
isn't it? So
Yeah,
that
yeah.
but that is what I was trying to say. You should also ask me in between. You ask me, man, this portion we don't follow, this that portion we don't follow. I'm trying to cover the whole syllabus within these 2 days. I know it is very difficult, and the
Hmm.
time that is given, it's very difficult to finish it within 1 hour, but still I'm trying to cover as much as possible. Okay. Maybe I don't know whether I will be covering each and every chapter from your book. I can't assure you that, but I will try to cover as much as possible, as all the mostly the important ones I'm trying to cover those. Okay,
Yes,
but
ma'am.
don't think which I'm not
Thank you,
covering
ma'am.
are not important. You have to read those also. Okay, you are
Hmm.
doing
Yes,
BCA,
ma'am.
so you have to read
Hmm.
everything. You can't leave out anything.
Hmm.
Okay, that's it. So I take it that right now you don't have any question to ask. So I just continue with what I was doing, since time is also running out. So
Ma'am,
yes, say
ma'am,
yes,
I'm Saranjit.
yes, Saranjit, say.
Ma'am, actually, I have a question that I can submit my assignment online or offline. Actually, I think so. This is online submission is there.
Yes, you have to submit it online.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
You talk to Tapun sir about it. He will guide you in all this. Okay, you know
Okay.
his
Okay,
number,
madam.
isn't it? So you can. He is going to guide you.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
So we come to this T distribution, and what is this? Here it is. You can see it is written. What is this T distribution, and what does it do, and why do we use T distribution? Everything. So that portion is given over here, and this is the formula for T distribution. Basically, that it's a T value. This T, what is T? It's basically a value. Okay, now this value is calculated with respect to probability value. Okay, there is a T distribution chart where it is calculated with respect to a probability value. So this is how you calculate this T distribution value. And why do we need T distribution? What does it do? So all these things, I'm not reading it out from this text. You can always go through this text because you will be having the recording with you. I think you can access the email and also see the recording. So there you will find all these are written. T distribution is a type of normal distribution, and you all now by now you know what is a normal distribution. We have discussed it yesterday. So what type of what happens if the data you have, if we find a T distribution out of this data, and why do we have it, is used when data are approximately normally distributed, which means the data follow a bell shape. Whenever we are talking of a normally distributed, that means it will follow a bell shape, and the variance is estimated based on the degrees of freedom of the data set. Now, what is the degrees of freedom? Degrees of freedom is calculated number of observations minus 1. Say you have a sample size of 10. So, degrees of freedom will be 9. 10 minus 1. Okay. So, size of the sample minus 1. That is your degrees of freedom. So, here we stay the sample size. We said actually observations. Clear? So, now always you can't have this. Now this may vary. Okay, I can say sample size minus 1, but if I have 3 samples, okay, I show you, in that case the number of observations are taken, not the sample size. So that is another thing. I will show you test statistics. See, this is the probability value. That is the p-value is calculated. What is this p-value? Obviously, the likelihood of your data occurring if the null hypothesis are true. Now, what is this null hypothesis and what is your hypothesis? Null hypothesis means that which you whether H0, and we consider them as H0 and H1. I think I have written no. Okay, I have described the T1. H0 and H1. That means uh, the test hypothesis. Suppose I'm saying that there are two samples are given. Okay, each sample has 10. It's a size of 10. Okay, now I'm saying that these two sample, their mean are equal. Okay, I go to this picture once. It will be easier for you to understand this. To this picture. Okay, I have drawn two samples from this population. Now I am saying these two mean are equal. Now this is my hypothesis and I name it as H1. Okay, now what will be the other way around? These two mean are not equal, right? So one hypothesis will be these two mean are equal and the other will be it will be not equal. Clear? So, and or I can take three hypotheses out of this. What? I can say these two mean are equal, or I can say x2 is greater than x3. That is another hypothesis. Or the third one, x3 is greater than x2. So you see, I am creating three hypotheses out of this. What are they? I am considering these two samples are drawn from this population. I am saying these two sample mean are equal. This is number one. Number two is x3 is greater than x2. That is, this mean is greater than this mean. And number three is this mean is greater than this one. So these are the hypothesis I am trying to draw. So we come back over here. So this is what is basically what they mean by null hypothesis. That is, I'm considering these two means are equal. If they're not equal, we will say that these are not equal. Simple. The null hypothesis is these two means are equal. That is, I'm taking as a benchmark, or that I'm taking as a uh, level to which I will check. So T distribution, all the features of a T distribution, these are this degrees of freedom is related to sample size and all. So this all these things you can just go through this all these features, the important properties of T distribution. What are the basic properties? Okay. And there are two types of T distribution. One is one tail, another is two tails. Now these things are important, one tail and two tail T distribution. What I do is, now I'm telling you all this in theory portion, and when we have the class at 3, then maybe I will show you some practical on this T distribution so that you will understand how it is calculated in Excel. So there comes this one tail. If you know it now, then that time it will be easier for you to understand. So one tail means sample mean would be higher or lower than the mean, but not both. Okay, so either it will be higher or lower than the population, or if you consider the sample mean, or if you consider it there is only one sample and you are considering this you are trying to compare it with the population mean. So either it will be higher or it will be lower, but it can't be both, isn't it? So there is only one option, either yes or no. So that is one telt. Okay, and this is two tel, and whether it is significantly greater than or less than the mean of a population is considered a two-tailed test. So this is the difference between one-tailed and two-tailed. Okay, so like I was telling you, whether it is greater than or it is equal to or it is less than, so then you use a two-tailed test. Basically these are the variation of a t-test, two-tailed and one-tailed. And one tail test usually have a 5% alpha level, that is your p level, that is p value 5%, and two tail will have entire 5% of the alpha level in one tail, and the two tail will have the standard alpha level. Again you will have the half, it will divide it into half. But actually what happens in the, this actually depends upon the significance level. I come to the significance level, you need not be concerned with this too. But this is, if you are asked to write about one tail and two tail test, t test, you can just mention all this. This when you calculate, actually you don't need to consider this 2.5, because this is actually what they're saying is, if it is a two tail test, then 2.5% is divided into 2.5. That is what they mean. That is they have given you a picture over here that always we want this curve, and this is how they, this two tells. Here we have alpha by 2. So this is the one. Now then they have given you the example of two tail test. Okay, two tail test, as I was telling you, see they wish to compare the averages of two samples, and that there is a difference, that if difference between two average highlighted, we do not really know A would be higher than B or the opposite. Okay, we don't know. Suppose we just say that the means are equal, the means are not equal, then we can use a one tail test. But if we want to predict that whether mean of A is more than mean of B, or mean of B is more than mean of A, then we have to have a two tails test. Now, have you understood this much? What I am trying to say? Like if you just want to say that the means are not equal, either they are equal or not equal. Okay, as I was trying to say it in this picture over here. If I just say in this picture, suppose we are saying this mean. Forget about sample. There are 3 samples. We are considering the sample mean. We can do that also. So we are saying whether these two means are equal or not. So either x3 is equal to x2 or x3 not equal to x2. One tail test. Do a one tail test in t-test. But now if I say that this means are equal, then we say another hypothesis, x3 is greater than x2. Then we say another hypothesis, that is the alternate hypothesis. These are called alternate hypothesis. The x2 is greater than x3. So we perform a two-tail test because we want to be specific about which one is greater than rule. If we have left it over there that these are not equal or just equal or not, then it is a one-tail test. But if we want to be specific about who is greater than whom, then it has to be two-tail. That is the explanation for this.
Ma'am, what is the purpose of the one tail test? Because we are considering it is not equal and we are leaving it there. And
No.
what will be?
This one, no, we are not doing that. Actually, we have drawn 2 samples. Okay, right? We have drawn 2 samples. Now we want to check whether these 2 samples we have to get actually a t value. This t value depends on a probability value. Now, what is this probability? Most likely that it will occur. Clear, most likely. Now here the sample size, we are not considering sample size to be 10 and 20 only. It can be more than that. And the numbers can vary also. Okay, at that time, how do we know? Either it is the most, we are trying to find out a probability. Clear, this is t value is most likelihood whether it will be equal or not. You can say, yes, ma'am, we can just calculate this too and finish it off. No, that is not the case.
Okay, ma'am.
That is not the case in statistics. That is the mathematician will calculate it and leave it like that. But in statistics, we have to infer that from this, that if this type of sample size, if you take, then they won't be equal or they will be equal. Most likelihood they will be equal. We are getting a p-value, that is the probability value. Okay, that is the alpha value. So from there we are calculating the t-value, the student t-test. And t-value, why it is? Because we are trying to see whether this goes to a normal distribution or not. Okay, most likelihood, how much percentage that it will be a normal distribution or not. For that reason, we are trying to calculate this t-value. Is it clear? I
Yes,
think
ma'am.
you open the study mat. If you go through the study mat, it will be clear to you then. Okay. So these are one tell and two tells test. And this is how this is example of if you just leave it like this or this, then it is a one tell. But if you go on how much it is, how much like three of this equal to and this, then it becomes a two tell test. And next we have this rejection of null hypothesis. Now, when do you reject the null hypothesis? Like here, when you reject the, now this one, this they have written over here. Now you may be confused that, ma'am, they have written only this and this, but I can add over here. It can be greater, it can be less. I can add that hypothesis also over here. Okay, so this I can add it over here and do it. But if I just leave it like either equal or not equal, then I can go over to here. Either I leave it like this is less than or this. I can't have both. You clear? But here in two tail I can have this both. But in one tail I can't have both. Greater than and less than I can't have both. So that is the difference, because this is a little confusing. You may get confused why it is like that. And so the how do we reject the null hypothesis? That is given if the test statistics is larger than the absolute value of the reference value. Reference value means the significance level. Say I take 5% significance level. Then what do? You take it as 0.05. That is the value, the probability value, 0.05. Clear? Now, this test statistics, what you are getting, this t value, whether it is greater than or less than this 0.05. If it is larger, then you reject the null hypothesis. And if the test statistics value is either in the lower tail, or you reject the null hypothesis, and otherwise you accept the null hypothesis. That is the most important thing. And the null hypothesis is what? They are equal. Or you can take it as they are not equal. You can take that also as null hypothesis. Like they have taken it over here. They have taken the null hypothesis as equal. I can take it as not equal also. That can be my null hypothesis also. I can take it like that. Okay. And here also same thing. One tail or two tail, the same thing is there. If it is larger, then you do a null hypothesis. If it is, you reject the null hypothesis if it is larger. Suppose the t value is like 0.3. Okay. And your this is 0.05. So if it is 0.3 is greater than 0.05, so you reject the null hypothesis. Next, how to use the t table. I can't show you over here right now, but well, there is a way. Like you have this thing, alpha value, that is the according to p-value you get an alpha value, and according to that you calculate the t value and you get an alpha value with respect to that t value. I have to show you the table. Okay, chi-square, I'm not going to start it right now because it is a long one, so I can't finish it also. I think I have to finish up chi-square in the afternoon, and after that I'm going to show you some calculations of t-value, this one-tail and two-tail problem, which I think I can show you in the practicals, and I will try to cover ANOVA as well. I hope I can cover the ANOVA portion. Okay, and by that time you also see whether you have any questions to ask, so it will be good if you have any questions. Yeah, right now, do you have any questions?
Oh, how to do the practicals?
Practicals, yesterday actually I have shown to how to do the histogram, and today I will try to show you though this is a theory paper, so you didn't have any practical class, but I will show you how to do it. Let's see
Okay.
how much see in this time. It's a limited time, so how much can be covered in this time, I will do that. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, any more questions you have? Any other questions? Anything? There is still time, you can just ask me. I know it is a fast because yesterday only you did some introduction part, and today you are in depth in statistics, you are doing t distribution. That's why I stopped over there, because it's difficult for you to follow chi-square. Again, you will get confused. And if I start ANOVA, it will be another confusing thing. So that's why I am going a little slow now. Yes. Who wants to ask? No one wants to ask. Okay, then you get prepared for the class, because that is your last class. So if you have any question, you can ask me then and there. Okay.
Ma'am, in the afternoon session, you will showing the practicals, no?
Yes, I will try to show a little bit of practical and 3 p.m. class, and I will also try to cover up a little bit of your theory portion also, because that is also important.
Okay.
Because these classes are given for your theory portion. Okay, I'm trying to show you the practical so that you understand what are all this, because all these things, one till two till, are mostly in the practical portion. So if you see the practical part of it, you will understand it better.
Okay.
Okay, then bye bye to all of you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Bye.
you,
Thank you.
ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye.
Bye, ma'am.